I heard the complaints about the stale meta, so I've been in the lab, and I cooked up something special for you. What's up, guys? My name is Arrow, and today I'm bringing you the long-awaited Cobra Lash League Starter Build Guide. Let me start by showing you what this build is capable of. All right, so let me drop a caveat in here. The reason I'm starting Cobra Lash is not because it's going to be the fastest build through the axe with no effort at all. If you want that, play Spectral Helix or Explosive Arrow or something else that's already been figured out. However, with a little bit of attention during the axe, you'll find that this build is incredibly smooth. As soon as you hit maps, you're going to be blasting content in a way that EA Totems and Spectral Helix simply cannot do. What you're seeing here is a tier 16 map being run by a level 75 character with a wasp nest, 2 medium clusters, and no other gear except for stuff that I found while leveling. Just want to talk briefly about the build and how we arrived here. So I have been testing this exhaustively for about 2 weeks now. This is a build that I've played through to 99. This is a build that I've killed all the bosses with. If you want to check out my completed build, I have a video. I'll link it over here. Check that out. See what this build is capable of. If you don't believe that we can get this much damage out of Cobra Lash, I'm confident that we'll be able to kill the Ooba Ooba bosses with this build. I was able to achieve about 45 million damage single target when Berserk was up, and as far as I'm concerned, that's more than enough. The build is very tanky, 100% spell suppression, tons of armor, tons of evasion, tons of move speed. Really is just a great all-around build. I think that this is going to change the meta. Okay, let's talk about the skill trees. So I have 6 different skill trees for 6 different levels, but level 14, you're going to start with Caustic Arrow, and as soon as you get a rare claw, you can switch over to Cobra Lash. Now, this tree is designed specifically to change over to claw before you fight Merveil. You will have all of these nodes by the time you get to Merveil. You'll be level 13 or 14, depending on how many of the additional side quest passives you get. When you get to Merveil, you're going to want to be on a claw. You'll have life gain on hit from the mastery and from Life Raker. You'll have mana gain on hit, and it will be incredibly smooth to fight Merveil. So basically, you just want to run Caustic Arrow until you find a claw. That could be level 3, that could be level 14. The level 33 tree, you're basically just going to take some more life, some more life. Then you're going to take this claw wheel, and you're going to get skills supported by Nightblade have 40% increased effect of elusive. You're going to be running Nightblade at this point, and all of this crit is going to be huge. We're going to have several hundred crit multi already. At level 50, you're going to go up to the shadow area. You're going to take more crit, more fizz damage, and life. And you're going to start pathing down this direction, grab this life, and you're on your way to Point Blank. At level 60, you'll get some more multi, and you'll get Point Blank, which is massive for bosses. You're going to want that for Kitava. The tree itself is done at level 70, and you're going to be ready at this point to start going into the large cluster jewels. If you are able to get your hands on clusters before that, I would immediately path into them because they're that strong. And then our final tree at level 90, the final for our league starter, it's going to have 2 large clusters, 4 mediums, all featuring follow through. This is huge damage for this build. 4 of these is massive. So let's talk about these jewels real quick. As far as what you want out of a large cluster jewel, you want the easiest way to get to mediums. I'm going to be including a better trading link in the POB that has a list of all of the useful nodes that you can get on a large cluster jewel. So what you're going to want to do early, day one, if you're going for this day one, get 2 notables on an 8 passive, and that is essentially 1 point less efficient than having 3, but you just are trying to enable the mediums at this point. So you're going to want to get 2 decent large cluster notables. They're going to be things like fizz damage, fizz's extra chaos, attack speed, attack damage, etc. But what they are is not super important. The goal of the larges is to enable the mediums, and the mediums are awesome. All right, now we'll go over the skills. Cobra Lash, you're going to want to get Divergent as soon as you can. Last league, it was about 10C on league start, and it never really changed in price. As soon as you can grab that, grab it. Nightblade, super important. Added chaos, tons of damage. All of these are just great damage at this point. You don't need additional projectiles because you have so many chains that it's fine for clear. Eventually, Vile Toxins is going to get swapped out for Awakened Chain once you have all of your damage. Whirling Blades for movement. Wither Totems is something that you're not going to be able to run super early, but once you get this going for bosses, it's insane. You can run Withering Step through the axe. It's very good. Getting a Wither Totem setup up is going to be really nice. Of course, Blood Rage. Tornado, linked to power charge on crit, is going to be our source of power charges on bosses and while mapping. And then Sniper's Mark and Mark on hit, very nice damage. I run an Ancestral Protector until I get a Wither Totem set up. This is a ton of damage, but you're going to need someone to mule this for you. Our auras, once we get to maps, is Grace, Determination, Defiance Banner, and Precision. Armor and Evasion together are super strong. I really, really recommend it. And then lastly, Molten Shell on left click for me, once you're done using Withering Step, is super nice quality of life. Finally, on bosses, once you have Rage Gloves, Berserk, and Val Haste, now you're looking at 7.5 million damage on not very exciting gear. Speaking of, let's talk about the gear. So you're going to be starting with a Wasp Nest. As soon as you can get one of these, they're probably 2C on day 1, 1C on day 2. As soon as you can get one of these, get one. This claw is best in slot until we can get around 450 physical damage on our claw. So you're going to be killing endgame bosses with a Wasp Nest. For the rest of our gear, you're going to want bases that give you armor and evasion. I know a lot of people think evasion's not that good, but if you run Determination, Defiance Banner, and Grace, and have armor evasion gear across the board, you're pretty much immortal. So let's talk about the items individually. You're going to want to get Spell Suppression, Stats, Life, and Res on as much gear as you can. And obviously, it doesn't have to be specific. You don't need 30 spell suppress on your shield. You can get 15 here. You can get some on your helmet, some on your chest, etc. Just get to 100. Same thing, you want life on every piece of gear, obviously. Resistance, all the suffixes are free on this gear, pretty much. So just get stats and resistances wherever you can. So let's go through each item. You can get attack speed for damage on a shield. It's nice, it's not necessary. For the helmet, you're going to want, without a doubt, Cobra Lash Chains 3 additional times as soon as you can get it. Now, this is a 5 to 10C enchant. It's super easy to get, especially early on. Lots of people are picking up the enchants from divination cards. People aren't just enchanting things when they run lab. It's very common, it's not very used. So this will be easy to get, mandatory, as soon as you can afford it. The armor, just get life, stats, res, nothing exciting. The gloves, now we'll talk about implicits in a minute, but we're not there yet. Spell suppress, life, stats, resistances, same thing for the boots. The amulet, you can get some multi, you can get +1 gems, you can get +1 spell, +1 fizz, or +1 chaos. They're all pretty good. The second that you can afford an Ashes of the Stars, get it. It's about 30% more damage. Added fizz to attacks is nice. Vermilion rings are super nice for us because we lack percent damage. I highly recommend these if you can get them. You want non-channeling skills have minus mana cost as soon as you can afford those. For the belt, a Stygian is great, but it doesn't have to be a Stygian. Just again, more filling out stats, life, and res. Let's talk about our jewel options. So Murderous Eyes are fine. You can get flat damage, life, attack speed. I recommend Viridians for percent life #1. And then you can get things like multi, attack speed, crit chance if your crit chance is suffering, proj percent damage, things like that. Clusters we already talked about, but I'll reiterate, follow through is mandatory. Get 4 of those as soon as you can. And then the other notable that you get on there's a bunch that are good. I just wouldn't get the one that has pierce because that defeats the purpose of our chains. Talk about our flasks real quick. You want a silver flask for onslaught. You want a life flask, jade and granite flask for armor and evasion. And you want armor and evasion suffixes somewhere on your flasks. A quicksilver, and then you probably want to get freeze immunity once you're not using purity of elements anymore. If you decide to use it, then you don't need it. And then we have this wonderful notes page. So there's some generic tips here. I talk about all the eldritch implicits that you'll want. Most importantly, get that rage on hit on your gloves. The ascendancy orders in here. The gem buying guide. This is super nice. It contains every gem you need, where to buy it, when to buy it, etc. Down here, there's some leveling tips. If you run into issues, you don't have enough damage, run down here, look at the leveling tips. And if it's not helping you, come into my stream. Twitch.tv/AER0___. I will be streaming nonstop on League Start. Come check out the stream. I'm happy to help. And then leveling filter tips. This is important too. Check this out. We also have all the gems for leveling broken out in here. You can see what you need for 1 to 14, 14 on, when you get a 4 link, when you get a 5 link, your auras, movement, etc. It's all in here. All right, let's do like a frequently asked questions / top tips section. While you're leveling, make sure you're paying attention to your claws. You want flat damage, attack speed, local crit. If you don't have a good claw, your damage is going to feel like trash. That is the nature of attack builds when you're leveling, unless you're playing Spectral Helix. It just simply needs to be a relevant weapon. If you are level 35 and you have a level 13 claw, it's going to take forever to kill stuff. Number 2, get evasion and armor on all your gear. I know a lot of people think that evasion's not very good, but I promise you, when you get evasion and armor together, this build feels unkillable. Make sure that you are at 100% hit chance at all times. When you're not hitting, this build feels pretty bad. So you're going to need a little bit of accuracy somewhere down the line. Not right away. Precision carries you most of the way. Once you get into the later levels, you're going to need some accuracy, so pay attention to that. Rage on hit on your gloves is incredibly powerful. As soon as you get some currency to get that on there, do it, because then you can run berserk, and that is a boss delete button. This build eventually does some poison damage, but it's not poison focused, so don't worry about only getting fizz and chaos on your claw. Early on, get as much flat damage as you can. Cold, lightning, fizz, fire, chaos, whatever you can get. A ton of flat damage is going to be amazing through the axe. Remember, I'll be playing this build over on twitch.tv/AER0___. So give me a follow and stop by to ask questions if you've got them. All right, that is going to wrap up the build guide for Cobra Lash on League Start. Let me know if you try this build. This guide was so much work, so I really appreciate it if you could give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care.